We also say good evening to Pinak Ranjan Chakravarti, former Secretary for Ministry of External Affairs, Ashok Sajjanar, former diplomat, also joining me right now. And the first question that I want to ask Mr. Chakravarti to you is, in such scenarios, how does a government go about evacuating its people? The last statement from the government suggests that they're still in the process of collecting the details of Indians which are there. But shouldn't those details of how many our citizens are in Afghanistan already be with us?
Well, the thing is like this. The process is very clear that we have requested and issued advisories all over the world to Indians who are in a particular country to kindly register with the embassy. That is, there is a form and you can just fill it up and send it online so that we know where you are, what's your contact details, etc. Now, many Indians just forget to do that. They just simply go there to do their work, etc., and forget to do it. And when there is a crisis, then it becomes difficult for the embassy to know where every Indian is. Those who have registered, we know, and we will reach out to them and help them. But, because it is a voluntary process and there is no compulsion in registering, many Indians do not register. And that is the problem I think Kabul is having now. That where are these fellows who are our fellow citizens who are stranded here, there? They only remember the embassy when there is a crisis. But what happens to the advisory where we have been repeatedly issuing this advisory, saying that please, for heaven's sake, register with the embassy so that we know, so that we have a register of these people. This is the situation. This is the problem.
Okay, so that's one big problem that we're facing, and we do know that there are at least a couple of hundred, if not more. Some of them, and we were just talking to an Indian who's based in Kabul and has been coordinating with, the registered people to get them to the airport as well. And he said at least 90 of them have managed to enter the airport today. Of course, we don't know when the flights will start. Mr. Sajjanar, would this be a case where we shouldn't really wait for commercial flights to begin and use our military flights to get as many people out as we can?
No, of course, I think that's exactly what we are doing, because we are not waiting for the commercial flights to begin. We don't know when, the commercial operations will start. The two aircrafts that have come, the C-17 Globemasters that have come yesterday and day before that, they have been military aircraft. And that is exactly what we are doing. We are not waiting for these. India has a long experience as far as evacuation is concerned. You would remember the Iraq war from Kuwait, how we had evacuated. You would remember from the Gulf, from Yemen when the war was taking place. So we have a lot of experience in that and know exactly what to do, how to go about it. And that is exactly what is happening now. We are putting all that, past experience and information into operation. And that's how we've been able to get these people. And I think slowly and gradually we are going to succeed. You see, it is not all the people who are based there who would like to go. Particularly, I'm sure those who have heard the press conference yesterday, and they might sort of, feel reassured that, things are not going, nothing adverse is going to happen. The Taliban has said that we are going to, do nothing as far as foreign nationals are concerned and allow them to work and so on and so forth. So they might take the Taliban pronouncements at face value and not come forward to be evacuated from there. The other thing is, we'd sent advisories. You would remember about 15 days ago, we had advised our people that, they should, those who want to leave should leave, because the situation, whether it's in Kandahar or Mazar or other places, is becoming very uncertain, and it will be difficult to ensure security and safety. We had put in aircrafts in Kandahar to bring people of the consulate from there, also in Mazar, where not only the members of the consulate, but others, Indians also, who were there and they wanted to come back. So they have come back. So I think the operation will continue. And, as the government has said, this is our first priority to get our people safely back home. And I think also, some of the Afghan Sikhs and the Afghan Hindus who are, closeted up in this Karwan Gurudwara in Kabul. I
Yes.
think that is also something that we are looking at. But one by one, I'm sure that we will be able to get all of them through. This is an appeal that has been made to the Taliban that they should allow all foreigners, all diplomats who want to go out, they should allow their safe exit. And I think that is happening.
Yes,
Tanvi.
and I ask this because so far officially they haven't indicated use of military planes on a large scale for civilian population. The evacuation was a lot of the embassy staff and people who work for us there. Of course, journalists, many of the journalists who were there and had to be also brought back home safely. The other aspect, Mr. Chakravarti, this is also something that's been brought up here by many youngsters, Afghan nationals who've been studying in India from Haryana to Maharashtra are now, extremely concerned because their visas have expired, courses are finished, but they obviously cannot be sent back home right now. Now, will this be one of the, especially because it's Afghanistan, something that the government will very quickly also look at and give an extension, and on what basis will we do that?
Well, I don't think that's much of a problem. I really don't think so. And by the way, journalists are civilians. They're not officials. So if journalists have been evacuated, you have to include them as civilians. I think the Afghan students and other nationals who are here, some are on long-term visas because they have relations or they are married to Indians or whatever. But the students, which is a very large community, should not worry too much because even during the COVID period, if you recall, the government of India extended, visas because there was no travel. You could not just go. So how would you deal with such a situation? So I think it's, though not similar, but I think procedurally, it's a similar kind of a situation where people just cannot go back because there are no commercial flights. How will they go? So I think they will get extension of their visas for some time, maybe for 6 months or 1 year, and then they'll have to reapply, and then the whole situation has to be seen as to how it evolves in Afghanistan, which, in my view, is still very, very is in a huge flux actually. So we really don't know. But I don't think the Afghans in India should worry that the Indian government will tomorrow, if their visa expires, throw them out or something, that they'll have to leave and they can go anywhere. They don't have to go back to Afghanistan. So I don't think that's going to happen. So there will be some solution that will happen, that will come. And we have precedences, we have earlier experiences of how to deal with this.
So the first part, of course, is the evacuation, immediate evacuation of those who are in Afghanistan. The second part of the Afghan nationals who are here seeking our help. The third aspect is more of Afghan nationals who may want to come to our country. There are thousands of them in Kabul right now, Mr. Sajanhar, who are just trying to get out to wherever they can for safety now. What should India's policy be there?
I think India has been very proactive in that and very sort of, acted very, very quickly because I think the decision was taken yesterday that those Afghans who want to come to India, that there would be an emergency X visa, a special category of visa that will be provided to them so that they'll be able to come here. So the point I want to make is that when India is welcoming even the Afghans from Afghanistan who feel that they are, that there might be problems and there might be persecution, oppression, etc., and they want to come to India, even their arrival is being facilitated because, we technically have de jure, we have an embassy in Kabul because the locals are there and they are running it, but no visas are being issued there. So for that, a special category has been made, And the point I wanted to make is that if we are welcoming those Afghans who are, and this is because of the century and millennia old civilizational and cultural relations, historical relations between India and Afghanistan, that we are welcoming them here, then as far as, your earlier question to Pinak Chakravarti, and I agree completely with him, that those who are based here, I don't think that is going to be any problem whatsoever, because, whether it is students or those who have come on for medical treatment or otherwise, I think they will be able to, it will be facilitated so that they can continue to stay here and, wait for things to well, I will say normalize, but I don't know that, I don't think the situation is going to normalize in a very short while. It is extremely fluid, and I think the situation there is going to continue to be very volatile for quite some time to come. And that is another thing that you could possibly discuss, because,
Yes.
although Taliban says that it is there, but it has so many factions and elements, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, all these, how they are all going to come together in terms of sharing power and, form some sort of cohesive government. I think there's going to be a huge challenge, and it's not going to be easy.
Yes, absolutely. Even, right now we've started to see instances of resistance, from the locals come in multiple towns and cities. It's led to violence. It's led to Taliban having to resort to fighting as well. There are some local politicians who are still there, who haven't run away yet, who are also trying to, stay in the game. So much to be discussed, much to be tracked, reported, and of course discussed with you experts. So thank you for joining me tonight, both of you, with your expert view on how India should actually look at all of these angles and plan its policy. Now, before we wrap up this conversation, let me also bring you a day after Taliban spoke about women's rights and equal treatment under the Sharia laws. Afghanistan's national news presenter, Shabnam Dawran, claims that she's been denied presenting the news as she turned up at the office. The radio television Afghanistan anchor was told to go home as the regime had changed, and she wasn't allowed.
کل رئیس دلته په افغانستان کې د خبريال یا د خبر څنګه د وړاندې په توګه دنده ترسره کوم. ورستنې دنده مې په اورډي یا د افغانستان ملي رادیو ټلویزیون کې و چې هلته هم د خبر څنګه ویاندوم. ما نن وغوښتل چې د کله چې نظام بدل سو، ما وغوښتل چې خپل دندې ته ولاړ شم. همدا خپل شهامت مې لاس ورنه کړ، خو له بده مرغه چې ما د اجازه رانه کړل، سربېره پر دې چې ما کارت هم درلود. هغه نارینه کارکوونکي زموږ چې وو، هغوی د کارت په لرلو سره هغوی په دې باندې بریالي شول چې دفتر ته لاړ شي. خو ما ته ګواښ وکړ چې تاسو نشئ کولی خپلې دندې ته دوام ورکړئ، ځکه چې نظام بدلون کړی دی. نو دلته ستر ګواښونه دي زموږ پر وړاندې، که نړیوال زما غږ اوري، مرستندوی یا بنسټونه زما غږ اوري، د موږ سره دې مرسته وکړي، ځکه چې زموږ ژوند تر ستر ګواښ لاندې دی.
Which is why I would repeat what I said yesterday as well. One cannot take Taliban's claims and so-called assurances at face value. Their beliefs are very different. Their minds are trained very differently. And though they may want the world to believe they have changed so that power comes easy to them from here on, and so does recognition of their regime being legitimized, what they do on ground will actually decide who they really are. Thank you for joining us.